Disaster's Children by Emma Sloley. Performed by Natalie Naudus. Marlo finished checking the perimeter. As usual, there was nothing out of the ordinary to report. Nothing you could put into words, anyway. She kicked at a bald patch of earth with her scuffed sneaker. Scrutinizing the shoe's frayed edges and the dirt-rimmed grommets that stared sightlessly at her like rows of gummed-up eyes, she realized it was high time to buy a new pair. It was hard to care about new clothes when you lived out here, though. Who would they be for, exactly? As she skirted the edge of an aspen grove, the late sun strobed through the leaves and stippled her hair. She kicked off her shoes and swung them by the laces as she stalked barefoot through the field. There was a primal thrill to this naked contact with the earth, nothing but a buzz cut of grass between her soles and the membrane of the planet. The sky, veined with wispy clouds, was turning from blue to lavender at the edges. The smooth, pale rocks that she'd always thought looked like humped-over men praying gleamed silver under the sun's final attentions. A scoop of moon just visible, lurking. She loved this liminal time of the evening, a held breath before darkness devoured the night. Hungry and impatient, like her. Some of the others preferred to take a companion along on these perimeter checks. It took several hours to trace the entire property, and it could get lonely and boring. But it was one of Marlo's favorite chores, and she always opted to travel solo when it was her turn. A kind of jealousy drove her toward solitude, an urge to defend her alone time even in the face of loneliness. Communal living isn't for everyone, was the go-to phrase Marlo's parents pulled out on the very rare occasion when a rancher would decide to fly the coop, but Marlo guessed they didn't include their daughter in this subset. It wouldn't have occurred to them. Though she was well beyond the usual stage at which offspring seek independence from their guardians, her 25th birthday had come and gone with little fanfare. Her parents assumed she loved the place as much as they did, and most of the time that was true. On nights like this, though, the old chafing started up again. The absence of her friends, Alex and Ben, who'd recently departed the ranch, like an abscessed tooth she couldn't stop worrying with her tongue. There were no fences, apart from the one sealing the ranch off from the main road at the southern edge, but she didn't need posts and wire to know its delineation. Like anyone who had grown up there, she kept a map of the ranch and its invisible borders in her head. She paused in the shadow of a pine forest, inhaling. In her throat, the sharp tug of turpentine, the sweet stink of resin. She hummed under her breath as she plunged inside, some terrible pop song dredged up from the ether, but there was no one around to hear her. She was in the southwestern corner of the ranch now, and most of the homes were north of here, closer to the lake or in the high country, what a realtor might call the prime locations. The ranch's sprawling contours took the form of a misshapen heart, bisected by the river and the main road that traced the water's edge. The homes were all clustered in the lush upper quadrant of the heart's left ventricle. Across the river in the right ventricle were the sheds, greenhouse, and farmlands, where they grew the crops and grazed the animals. The first lights from the nearest prime homesteads already glowed yellow through the trees, but from this lonely vantage point, they looked impossibly far away, dim constellations at the ragged edge of the galaxy. She emerged from the gloom of the forest into a clearing. Beyond that was the ridgeline, falling gently away into a shallow canyon. She strode toward it, glancing once instinctively over her shoulder. In one of those arcane accidents of land distribution, when the boundaries had first been drawn up, a small arrowhead-shaped sliver of land on the canyon floor, a notch out of the bottom of the heart, ended up belonging to their neighbors. Officially, she was supposed to skirt the canyon, travel north along the edge of the ridge and then back down the other side in order to stay within the ranch's boundaries. But she couldn't resist the illicit charge that came from stepping over the invisible border and onto their land. She scrambled over the lip of the ridge and careened down the slope and into the canyon, black hair flying behind her like a silk flag. Now she was officially trespassing.